Yo, what's good? It's your boy Bo Nappy back, and I am doing a review of Marathon Server Slam. This just came out. It's basically the new extraction shooter that is going to be competing with Arc Raiders in a way. Um, and the open beta just went live and passed. I'm filming this on March 2nd, so the beta just ended about 5 hours ago my time. So I just want to talk about my experience with the beta, what I thought about it. I will be comparing it to Arc Raiders, as that's the other extraction shooter that I play. So forgive me if anyone gets triggered by, oh, don't compare the games. I'm gonna compare them. So, you know, strap in, buckle up, all that good stuff. Sorry, I'm resizing stuff right now. Um, just want to make sure you guys can see everything you need to see. Okay, so for starters, I want to talk about PvP. The PvP experience, in my opinion, was very good. Um, we'll just go down the bullet points and then I'll kind of compare it at the end. So one of the first thing I noticed in this game was great directional sound. Sound locating people or fights or anything mobs via sound, I thought was amazing in this game. There was rarely a time, even when people were trying to sneak up on me, that I felt like I wasn't aware that an engagement was coming. And that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves for PvP and Arc Raiders is how ambush heavy it is. Um, I understand in extraction shooters, it's about getting the jump on your opponent, as I got the jump on the guy that I just killed, right? But I don't mind a fair fight. I prefer them, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I'm not really an extraction shooter guy by nature. Arc Raiders, to be honest, is probably the first one that I've played extensively. I've watched a lot of the other ones, but never really dove into Arc Raiders. So, just a little background from my perspective on things. I watched a ton of Tarkov. Never played it. Once a lot of Hunt Showdown, never played it. Played a little bit of DMZ, stuff like that. But what I will say is, I think the great directional sound in combination with it being a first person shooter instead of a third person shooter made it to where a lot more fights felt fair. And I noticed that a lot of the fights that I was having with other people, both me and that person were aware of each other before the fight started. Um, and the reason that's a big deal, because in my notes here I have first person encounters versus third person encounters, is with first person, you have to make yourself available to be seen in order to see others. So in third person, what happens a lot in, like Arc Raiders or any other third person shooter is corner peeking. Corner peeking is extremely strong. So it doesn't matter how aware you are, how much you scan your surroundings and all that stuff. If you are someone who likes to move around the map and explore and run around, you are subject to getting, you know, half your health clipped off of you in an instant by somebody who's corner peeking you. They will have the big advantage on you when it comes to fights. Okay. And the reason why I think that's a issue is because, in my opinion, for a good PvP, you want people to feel like they can engage with each other and also engage with the map. So if I feel like I can't work the map because I always feel like there's somebody standing around the next corner ready to ice me, right? It starts to stagnate movement, and I think people stop moving and stop exploring. And I think that's what happens a lot on Arc Raiders and PvP lobbies is, third person peeking and corner peeking is so strong. It's just better not to move until you hear other people fight. It's just better. You know what I mean? You get punished by being aggressive, and I like to move around and be aggressive. So I think first person encounters, again, most of my encounters, I would say probably 50 to 70% of my encounters, me and the person that were about to get into the fight either heard each other coming or saw each other coming, which I prefer, right? So I think that's a good thing. Um, so we talked about that. As far as zero to hero is very possible mid raid. Now, this is something that is newer to me because again, I didn't play Tarkov and these other extraction shooters, but going in like let's say in comparison with Arc Raiders, going in with a free kit and gooping somebody up, right? Is kind of like the thrill of a PvP player in Arc Raiders. You hunt somebody down, you goop them up, you get all their good stuff, and you extract. The only thing with that is with Arc Raiders, your kit, your augment is locked. So if I come in with a free kit and I kill somebody with a looting three augments and all that stuff, I don't get to take their augment and put it on and get the extra stash space in raid, right? So if they have a full backpack worth of goodies, I can only take a portion of it because of the kit I loaded in with. So you can zero to hero, but it not as hard, right? In this game, it felt like the sponsored kits that you load in with are they're solid, but you can go in with basically nothing, no equipment, no shield, no cores, no implants, and you can hit a either hit a good couple good loot spots or get a good kill on someone who's kitted up, and you could come out crazy. You know what I mean? You could come out a super soldier. And for me, for someone in this game, if I were to buy it, is just going to be probably purely a PvP player. I'm not going to be on no friendly stuff. Probably PvP solos. I'm probably, we'll see. If I have friends that play it, I'll play it with them in trios. But um, I like that. It makes it to where I feel like I don't need to be um, as cautious about my loot. It's fun. You do notice that people with better stuff and better shields have a good advantage on you, but you feel like you can just go into a raid carefree and get what you need. If you have a good raid, you can come out kitted up and all that good stuff. So I thought that was good. In comparison to Arc Raiders, where you're kind of limited by the kit that you bring in, that's a difference there. There's seemingly less people on the map. Now, this I think is also a good thing because it allows you to engage with the map. This is a big difference, again, that I see in comparison to Arc Raiders. Again, I'm going to be comparing the two, so get used to it. Um, where in Arc Raiders, and let's say you're in PvP lobbies, right? If you're in PvP Stella, there is no real engaging in the map. You know what I mean? Everyone is off spawn, is crouch walking and not moving. You're hoping that you don't get targeted by any arc. You're not looting. You're not breaching anything. You're not doing keys. You can't really engage with the map because the map is so dense and there's so many people who spawn in over and over and over again. How many times have you had or seen lobbies where there's 6 or 7 or 8 dead bodies stacked on top of each other from Stella Montes fights, and it's only been 5 minutes into the round, and people spawning late? You know what I mean? The lobby keeps filling itself. So, in my opinion, that's a thing that Marathon improves on quite a bit because in Marathon, I feel like um, there's less people on the map. Encounters with players are common enough. Like if you want to just PvP, you will find players to fight. But you also feel like there you can always. I always felt like if I wanted to interact with the map, I can. I can get into a place clean like I did here, loot a couple buildings, and then I can, if I want to find a fight, I can find a fight. That's a big thing I feel like, and people might say, "Oh, well, Stella Montes is designed blah blah blah." Well, let's say you want to play damn battlegrounds. The spawns and arc raiders, like you can legitimately at least in the surface lane. I don't know if they're going to change it for the actual game. You can legitimately avoid encounters in this game if you really want to. In Arc Raiders, it is almost impossible to avoid encounters with other raiders, right? And the map isn't designed in a way to where you can tactically get places and loot without interacting with other people. If you combine that with the PvP that the third person PvP and the super defensive ambush style PvP, I think that's where you get a not so great experience with Arc Raiders PvP as opposed to what I'm feeling like with the Marathon Server Slam. So I thought the less people on the map, there's still enough to where you can get in fights, and there are plenty of fights, but you kind of feel like after you kill somebody, you kind of like won the area. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I want it to feel. I want to feel like, let's say I get into an area like this. Maybe there's two other players. If I kill two players in an area, or even one player in an area, I want to feel like, okay, I won this area. Now I can go loot it up and this is me trying out the bubble shield for the first time. I thought it was going to be something you wore. It is not, if you were wondering. But that's that's kind of what I was looking for in terms of. I'm trying to get my thoughts back here. When I kill someone, I want it to mean something. Like if I kill a person or two in an area, I want it to feel like, okay, I won the area. Now I can loot its spoils. I don't want to feel like it's just going to start an avalanche of non-stop players. You know what I mean? Because then it's kind of like, what's the point? Um, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know what Buddy was doing over here, but he was just. Oh no, this was not a person. I thought this was a person at first. These guys always trick me because they cloak and they kind of look like people, but they're not. All right. Anyways, continuing. So we talked about that, um, and we need to kind of pick it up a little bit. Last thing I had under uh, good PvP or enjoyed PvP experience is dynamic exfil slash proximity exfil. So I think this is an amazing concept to kind of diminish the rat tactic. Now you can still rat, right? It's an extraction shooter. We all see where the extractions are. If you want to just go to an extraction point and kind of camp near it, it's very doable. But what I will say is the way they do extractions in this game make it a lot more difficult to rat. You still are going to end up with somewhat of a fair fight, even if you attempt to rat, which I really enjoy. So one, the extractions are random and they're dynamic. So you might see two. You might the match starts. I think it's 5 minutes before the initial extractions even load, and then um, those extraction points can change mid match. So if you're someone who's just coming in to rat, it's a lot harder. You have to wait 5 minutes, interact with the map, right? And then you have to reposition yourself or possibly traverse the map in order for you to be able to get to a point where you can rat. So you're putting yourself at risk, right? So it's a lot less prominent. I'm trying to think of all the times that I extracted that I initiate. I think of all the times I initiated extraction on this game, I don't think I had one rat attempt. Now I have fought people near extractions, um, but it's not after I tried to leave. Normally it's because I saw somebody or I heard somebody and I went after them near an extraction, right? But I had not actually had a rat attempt on me. And I know a lot of people probably have had issues with the assassins, which I'll talk about here in a second. But that's something that I noticed. It's a little bit more difficult to rat in this game. And then also the King of the Hill type, a proximity based extraction zone makes it to where um, ratting is, or you can defend yourself while you're exfilling, right? So you're not completely vulnerable. People, you know what I mean? With Arc Raiders, you are extremely vulnerable hitting those keys. Extremely vulnerable, right? Your back's turned, you have very limited head space to move. You're just begging to be shot in the back. Whereas in marathon, you just have to stay in the circle for 10 seconds, right? You get to most people. I mean, I'm assuming most people save their ult for their extract. At least I do. So you got your ult popped. You're standing in the circle. Anybody that comes after you, it's they know where you're at, so they'll have that advantage. But you at least are able to defend yourself actively while trying to extract. So I think that's dope. So yeah, let's go to the class system. So things that I think are Interesting. The class system is interesting. I do think um, having a class system, especially for something like solos, as we see this assassin run through and burn their cloak. This assassin had wanted no parts of me um, at all. I also was unaware that that ability made so much noise. I'm about to talk about this class here in a second, but um, future balancing issues. With any sort of classes, like this is kind of like an Apex style, where you have classes that you load into with kits. Um, but instead of it being, but you get to do this in solos. In Apex, I don't believe there's solos in Apex. At least when I was playing it, I haven't played Apex in so many years, but when I played it, Apex was it's a squad game. It's not really a solo type of game, right? The classes aren't really designed like I don't know. But in this game, for the most part, the classes feel balanced. I will say this. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that thinks this. Um, Assassins having a character that can go invis, I don't think that's a great game design, especially for solos. I think assassins are fine in trios because you can use the invis to get, advantage points, better, flank, get better. You can use it for fights, but in solos, it's typically just used for camping and playing really lame, right? For lack of a better term. So I wouldn't be mad if Assassin was just taken out of solos. Again, I think having a character that can cloak in solos is a bit OP. And I also don't think that their cloak ability should be their secondary. That should be their ult, right? If you want to make it last longer, I guess cool, but the fact that you can just constantly cloak, right? It doesn't take very long to charge that. I just don't think that's good game balancing. Did I just walk past that loot thing? I think I did. I don't think that's very smart game balance. In my opinion, I don't like it. You know what I mean? You get an assassin who plays smart, uses sound well, has a shotgun, sneaks up on you, cloaks when you get close, and gets the first shot on you with a shotgun and solos. I just don't think that's. I don't think that's smart. But hey, you know what I mean? We'll see how it goes. So we talked about assassins and solos. I will say I did play a lot of recon to start. Before I played this runner shell, this whatever his shell is, the one with the shield and the missiles and all that. Um, I do think the secondary ability for recon needs better pathing. The little spider that you throw out that finds people, it's pretty bad. Uh, it just goes in a straight line. If you throw it in a building, it will literally just run the floor, run the ceiling, run the floor, run the ceiling. It's very dumb. I think it should be a little bit smarter. And also, I don't think it should be able to damage you. It does, if it blows up near me, I take damage, which I think is kind of stupid. I feel like I should be immune to that or recon. I think that secondary for recon needs a little bit of work. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. And then the last one I had here for class system is interesting is Rook redundant with sponsored kits? So Rook is kind of your Omega free kit, right? Rook is kind of your Omega free kit. Like, okay, I don't want to risk anything. I just want to go in, get some supplies, maybe get gooped up when I play trios later. I'm gonna go in. You get a backpack. You get something that helps you deal with. You get something that helps you deal with um, mobs. Like I think you can hide from the soldiers or blend into them. All that good stuff. So I do think that because free kits allow you to use, actual soldiers that have perks that are good for battle and you have better guns, I do kind of feel like Rook is like unnecessary. I mean, again, you don't get the free backpack. I have to find a backpack or risk one and bring it in with a regular soldier. But I don't know. I think it's interesting to have Rook specifically. I mean, I guess that would be the real zero to hero run if you can come in with Rook and leave with some crazy stuff. Um, but yeah, other than that, let me just see where we're at in this video. Man, I've been talking too long. Uh, let's see. So I do extract here. I'm just gonna go back to a little bit earlier, um, just so we have something to watch while I'm still yapping. Um, so I would say my final thoughts on this game. Um, is this a $40 title or a free to play title? I struggle to find the motivation to spend $40 on this game. As much as I enjoy the PvP and as much as I think it's a great, like, I had, again, guys, for reference with like Arc Raiders, I have played
Attention.
this
We are
season,
entering a highly
right? I
sensitive
have
moment.
played
Cyberacne assumes no life
all of
issues are
season or
whatsoever
all
on
of
site.
Expedition 2, 2 months worth of Arc Raiders, right? And in those 2 months, I have knocked 20 Raiders and knocked out 12. So that lets you know in 60 plus days, right? I am not out here PvPing in Arc Raiders, right? I'm probably the person that most of y'all think would never touch this game. But the funny thing is, when I started Arc Raiders, my intentions were to goop. Like my personality is just to run people down and take their stuff. I love fight, like but the game, I just don't think the PvP is good. But I'm kind of getting outside of the point I was trying to make here. Arc Raiders, you can say what you want about the PvP and it not being very good. The PvE, I think, is great, which I didn't really talk about in this game. I'll talk about that in a second. The PvE is very good, but Arc Raiders, you feel like you're in a movie. The environment is amazing. Every UI, every area feels so unique, has its own personality. The interactions with other raiders, I mean, that's not really a game design thing. That's just kind of what has happened, right? Based on the community that plays the game. But I really think that Arc Raiders, the game as it's designed, is just so much more of a visual experience. Even just like the Hurricane mode that came out recently, right? It's beautiful. Hey, I'm a Florida guy, so I've dealt with hurricanes, and as a certified Floridian who's sat through tons of hurricanes, feels like a hurricane. It's beautiful. The electromagnetic storms, right? The fights, the with the boss fights. It's the experience you get from that game is worth $40 to me. Even with the flaws with PvP, um, the maps, it just feels like there's so much more. With this game, it's more of a bare bones extraction shooter, right? It kind of reminds me kind of PUBG-ish, where the map's not crazy. There's not a ton of depth to each and every point of interest. It's more about the PvP, the gunplay, and the fighting, right? And the class system and the skill tree, I think, is where this game shines. But all in all, I don't feel like this is a game that warrants a $40 tag. This feels like a free to play game, in my opinion. It feels like a free to play game. Um, So, it's obviously not going to be free to play off launch. I think it is $40 to play, and I might just say F it and get it. You know what I mean? Play the two games in tandem. But we'll see if that hurts the player base, um, life. You know what I mean? In the long run. I put in the art style. The art style, I kind of just touched on it. It's not very memorable. If you've played Halo or Bungie games, it's kind of reminds you of like Halo-ish art style. Very psychedelic colors. Nothing too crazy. But it's cool. It's smooth. And then the last one I had here was comparison to Arc Raiders. We kind of already talked about it. I think this game, we'll talk about the PvE right now since we haven't really talked about that. The PvE in this game is actually a lot more dangerous than Arc Raiders, which is funny to me, right? Um, like this game is obviously designed in mind for PvP experience, um, but the PvE is like like those guys right there. They are really hard to kill and like clean kills. Like in Arc Raiders, if you have a decent gun, right, and decent game sense, you can go through, you know, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50 matches and not have any kind of scuff ups. You can get through clean, you can kill Arc clean, right? If you know where you kind of know where they are, you know how they act. You bring in an anvil or a renegade or whatever, you can dispatch a most small arc really easily. Larger arc are harder to deal with, but you have ways of dealing with them quickly depending on your resources. But it's very easy to kind of navigate around them and kill them. In this game, engaging with these
Preparing for
soldiers is
defensive
really
strategy.
tough. And I've been down multiple times trying to fight these guys. You know what I mean? They're very, very aggressive, including the ticks. Um, they're very aggressive and they will chase you very far. They also open doors, which scared the living F out of me the first time, but it's really they're really aggressive and really hard to kill, which surprised me for a game that's claiming to be more PvP focused, right? I think Arc could take a lesson from Marathon here and make their uh, PvE elements more challenging to deal with, because I that's kind of what I've been looking for in Arc Raiders is more of a challenging PvE experience, but it is what it is. But other than that, I mean, like I said, I don't think it's fair to just compare it to Arc altogether. I think Marathon's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to have its audience. I do plan on playing it one way or another. Whether I buy it, I might just, I could buy it day one. I might wait a couple days just to see what the reviews are, see what's kind of meta is shaping. But I am interested in it because I do kind of like the to just hunt players and kill people and interact with the map. So let me know what you guys think about the game. I could talk about it probably for an hour, but I'm already well over the time that I wanted to spend talking about this game. What did you guys think about the server slam, the PvP, the PvE, the classes? What do you think about it in comparison to Arc? All that good stuff. And yeah, just let me know what you think in the comments. I'm out. Peace.